how healthy is your message strategy? And by that I mean, when you present to an audience, do they end up making a decision or taking action? If not, that means you probably have a sick message strategy. And let's talk about some of those symptoms. So, symptom number 1, death by PowerPoint. So, how do we confirm that? Well, your customer says, wow, that's a lot of slides. Or they actually call it death by PowerPoint. That's a problem. Why is that? Well, all your critical key points are drowned out by all the noise, all the sheer volume of slides that you have. Your audience tends to be overwhelmed, they lose interest, and as a result, they don't make a decision. So, what are some of the causes of that? Well, failure to assess what the audience needs are. Really, not having a clear outcome in mind for your presentation, so you put in anything that might be able to stick. Not understanding your audience very well. Failing to prioritize. Or equating a presentation with the document. They're not the same thing. All right, so what's symptom number 2? Symptom number 2 is the audience can't recall key points. And so confirmation of that is you present information, and then 5 minutes later at the end of your presentation, you ask if they have any questions, and they ask you about the thing you just talked about. It's not because they're not interested, it's because they just didn't hear it or they really weren't paying attention. So why is that a problem? Well, when your audience can't recall your key points, they're less likely to make a decision. And you're presenting in order to get them to make a decision. So what are some of those potential causes? Well, you weren't very interesting, or you had too much content. You failed to prioritize. You failed to provide perspective on why your point is important. Symptom number 3, you have multiple presentations, but you make no progress. So, what's the confirmation of that? Well, you keep having the same meeting over and over and over again, using the same deck or a very similar deck over and over and over again, and the only outcome is having the next meeting. So, why is that a problem? Well, if you're not making progress, that means you're spending a lot of time and money doing these same meetings, and you're delaying getting to the outcomes you're after, whether it's increased sales, whether it's buy-in and support or decisions. So you need to be able to get forward with it. Potential causes here? Well, you're trying to have one deck that can meet any audience's needs. Try to answer every potential question. That is a recipe for disaster. Other causes or potential causes for this are failure to prioritizing your content, failing to understand who your audience is, failing to know what their decision criteria are, failure to customize anything depending on who you're talking to. All right, so next one, symptom number 4. Does your presentation deck have the same basic content as the competition? So, how do I confirm that? Well, if you just swapped out the logo or name or the brand colors, could this be a presentation given by your competitors? So why is that a problem? At the end of the day, people make decisions based on differences, not on similarities. So if your presentation doesn't stand out, if it's not clear why your idea provides value to your audience, you're not going to get a decision. So what are some of those potential causes? Well, you have a lack of effective strategy. So again, you failed to understand who's in the audience. You may not have been able to clearly think through how are you differentiating for this idea, for this audience at this time. You failed to really consider what's different about the topic. So a lot of things that can go wrong here. All right, symptom number 5. The client says this makes sense, but she takes no action. So how do you confirm that? Well, you get to the end of your presentation, the client says, no, I get it, it makes sense, but they don't actually pull the trigger. And we see this again and again and again, particularly with internal audiences. So why is this a problem? Well, even though they agree it's a good idea, if they're not taking action, what have you accomplished? You're not meeting your objectives and goals for your organization. So, potential causes here. Well, you have a weak or missing call to action, lack of compelling evidence, lack of differentiation, and lack of any emotion. Because what the research shows is that for people to make decisions and to make them quickly, there needs to be an emotional trigger there, not just logic. But for most presenters, it's almost all logic. All right, symptom number 6, missing or an unclear or an uncompelling call to action. So, how do we confirm this? Well, if your team is presenting to an audience and they can't tell you what their goals are for the presentation, or they get to the end of the presentation and they simply ask for questions, but they don't ask the audience to do something, that's a problem. So why is that a problem? Well, most salespeople will tell you that you don't get what you don't ask for. And so you've got to be able to drive and push your audience to make a decision. Even if it's no, that's better than walking away and thinking that you did a great job landing your message, but then never being able to close on the idea. All right, so what are some of the potential causes? Well, there is no specific call to action. Or the presenter or the presenting team didn't really have a clear objective in mind. Or that objective was really unrealistic. Maybe they want to sell a product or a service, but if this is the first meeting with the customer, well, you're unlikely to get that decision at the end if this is a big spend or a big process or service or a big change. All right, so what do you do if you're seeing any or all of these symptoms in your presentations or in your team's presentations? Well, get some help. Find someone like me or contact me. My name is Kevin Palo. I am a corporate storyteller at Deliberate Consulting. My job is to help people get to their point and help their audiences make decisions. You can reach me at kevin@deliberateconsulting.com, or if you want some training, look up what open events we have coming up at www.deliberateconsulting.com/open. But no matter what, get some help, be more strategic, don't have a SIG message strategy. All right, good luck.